to Two Roads Crossing, a podcast production of the Christian Veterinary Mission. Do you wonder how your faith fits together with your profession? Well, join us as we explore how to live well at the intersection of two roads crossing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Two Roads Crossing, a podcast of Christian Veterinary Medicine. And I'm your host, Curtis Gibbs, the West Region Rep and Assistant Director of Student Ministry and Workplace Ministry. And one of the awesome things I get to do besides hosting the podcast is work with students. And we have one of our awesome student leaders here with us today, Izzy Pulido from UC Davis. Izzy, welcome to the podcast today.
Hi, Curtis. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
We're so glad you're here. And one of the reasons we are interviewing you today, just besides you being super fun and awesome, is because your school just hosted SAVMA and you were a huge part of that. Tell us kind of the role you were occupying, kind of how that came about. I mean, that's a lot to take on while being a student.
Yeah, so it was a super, super fun process. I was the fundraising chair for the 2025 SAVMA Symposium. This is a kind of worldwide conference for vet students. So we have people from all over the US, people from Canada, people from like Australia. It's just a really fun way for vet students to come together once a year. It's hosted at a different vet school, and Davis hosted it this year. And they come and they have lectures, they have labs. They get to learn about things they don't really get experience with in the classroom. And then there's a whole exhibit hall, which was my kind of pride. And I guess that was what I really got to work on this year. And so that was really fun. And it was about a 15-month process, and it ended a couple weeks ago. So it's just been really cool to reflect on that and see it all come to fruition at the end.
Well, how did all your student leadership team there at Davis feel about the event?
They loved it. So we had a lot of really good support from faculty, really good support from AVMA, and everyone that attended said this was such a cool experience. I didn't even know about SAVMA beforehand. So then just having it at the school, I mean, each school has a president and delegate representative, and then they have the president-elect and kind of like the junior delegate. So each school sends 4 people to the SAVMA conference every year. But other than that, a lot of the students don't want to pay to attend. And so the fact that it was at Davis, all of our students in our classes like 1 through 3 were able to come and not have to pay for housing and not have to pay for flights. And they just had a ball. I think everyone had a really good time interacting with faculty and going to the exhibit hall and getting all the free swag, and then just meeting students from all over the world. I think that's where the connections were made, and that was really fun to see.
It's I will say from like our side, as a CVM region rep, we go to conferences all the time, right? So when the SAVMA happens in one's region, like it was in mine, got to be with you at Davis, it is like I think every region rep is looking forward to where SAVMA is going to be, because that is so fun to be there, because we get to see our students, but it's students from all over. I work with the Caribbean, so I get to see students from Ross, St. Matthews, and St. George there. Like, it's amazing the number of students from all over. I guess every vet school basically sends a delegation, at least of the 2 officers, if not more, to the event. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. So there's at least 2. Most of the time there's 4, just so there's like the president and delegate and then the juniors of each of those positions. But other than that, students don't have a lot of extra funds. So flying to another place, if it's not really local, and then getting housing is expensive. So the fact that it was in Davis, everyone here was like super, super stoked that they could go and experience it, because it was in Tennessee last year and it'll be in North Carolina the following year. So not as easy for people to get to.
Yeah, true. There's not many schools west of Davis, right? You are kind of the end of the West, but it's such a great, y'all are such a great host location. And so NC State, it's like bounce from coast to coast. Shout out to NC State, who will be 2026.
Oh yeah.
So I'm guessing you even have sort of met with, they had a little delegation there in a booth. You met with some of them to kind of pass the baton, I suppose.
Exactly. We had our closing ceremony and they put on their hype video, and we officially passed the baton and had our transition meeting that Sunday morning, and it's in good hands. They're going to do an incredible job, and they have really good attitude going into it. And so I'm excited to see how it comes together.
Yeah, cheers to that. Well, let's, we have you certainly because of SAVMA, and it's cool to highlight what is going on. I have a question about that, but let's let's stay there for first before we get a little more personal. But what what are you seeing in the lives of students of your generation right now? Like, what were some of the most sought after topics, most commonly asked questions, most, you had all kind of breakouts on all kind of stuff. What is your perception of what students of your generation are maybe excited about, but also have maybe a little anxiety or questions about as they prepare to be doctors of veterinary medicine?
Yeah, great question. So it was unfortunate. The only bummer about being one of the leaders of SAVMA was that we couldn't really attend a lot of the sessions.
Sure.
And so there were so many cool things. They had a sled dog rescue avalanche crew go out to Tahoe. And there was so many incredible talks. And
San
I know
Francisco
that,
Zoo. I mean, you went mountain
yeah,
because yeah, that was
they
really
were all over. I was like, that's so cool. But I mean, it was just fun to watch everyone enjoy it and experience that. But from my understanding, people really like the business track. I think in vet school at Davis, we do get a lot of business education, which is great, and contract negotiation and things like that. But I'm not sure how that works at other schools. And so I know those tracks were super popular. The
okay.
leadership tracks and personal development, like having a life outside of vet school or kind of personal care and tips and tricks to survive vet med and be a person as well. So I think those were super popular, as well as some of the far out there topics. We had a honeybee health kind of
Sure.
session, which was pretty cool. And then there was just a whole variety. We had integrative vet med, we had zoo med. So I think this was a fun way for people to just go out there and really pick their interests and just show kind of their true selves and to
Yeah.
decide whatever the heck they wanted to do. And you could attend as many things as possible and not, you didn't have to stay in one track. So you could just kind of bounce around. But leadership and business, I think, were pretty popular this year.
Okay. I mean, those are tells. Like where people are going is then it's popular, but it means like this might be what they want to be equipped on more, what they want to know more about. Yeah. Um, Interesting. All right. Well, to take it to Izzy specific, then, right? Where we have you here because you're also a CVF officer at Davis. You guys hosted Real Life Real Impact last year and did an awesome job. So, you were in a skit with Dr. Mary McDonald, right? Just all kind of fun stuff. So by hosting these things, but I guess specifically we'll just stay on SAVMA because that was just more work to host it. Um, Sometimes with things like this, I find myself going, I am so glad I did it. And I'm also so glad just because it's a lot. You're in vet school, it's kind of both. Two things can be true at one time. You would want to do it again. And at the same time, it's not so bad for it to be over, but not to put words in your mouth. What was the experience for you like, of adding this to this year, this last 15 months of your journey?
Yeah, it was honestly an incredible experience. I had the opportunity, we knew that it was going to be hosted at Davis when I was a freshman. So I came in, they gave a whole talk. They said, you guys are going to host the symposium, but the people that put the bid in at the convention the year prior were going to be going into fourth year by the time this was going to be hosted. So they're like, we have the bid, but now you guys get to do it. And so
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sitting
weird.
there.
And even this is
It's so
smaller, this is way
crazy.
smaller than our real life real impacts, but we still feel that with our student groups. It's like
Yeah.
we kind of say, hey, students, but then the next officer group is kind of the ones that sort of have to host. And it's like, oh, what am I signing up for? Or yeah, so yeah,
And so I originally was just sitting in class and they were talking about this, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. But I also don't know how vet school works. I don't, I'm here for school. I don't want to fail or anything.
sure, you're a first
And
year. Yeah,
just kind of was winging it and can't really say no to things, especially when I get really excited about it. And so I found out two of my really good friends that I went to undergrad with were applying to be general managers. And then someone from UCLA was going to be the treasurer. I was like, oh, well, now there's a fundraising chair. I've never done any fundraising, but I like people. So let's be a little uncomfortable and try this. And it was the hands down best decision I had ever made. The connections I got out of that and just the opportunities to network with people and really learn how to interact with people. And I got to go to the veterinary leadership experience in Idaho and then AVMA convention and just network and meet people and just see a different side of veterinary medicine than the science aspect. I got to learn the people aspect, which
sure.
was such a privilege and just such a God thing too. I mean, I had no intent on doing this in undergrad or in vet school. I didn't even know this was going to happen. And
Sure.
then everything just kind of lined up and it was fairly unproblematic throughout the whole process.
Wow.
So,
I'm a little
yeah.
surprised, not surprised to hear you say that, but yeah, I mean, you handled it with grace, and I got to see some of that firsthand. More on that in a minute, but like, the fundraising chair, you're having to deal with corporations, professional, like, you know what I mean? Like you're coming into this role where other conferences have full-time staff who do this thing. So that's a lot. I mean, how many exhibitors were there? We took over the UC Davis basketball court. There probably, I don't know, you would know about how many exhibitors were there.
112 companies were there and then
Wow.
263 exhibitors. So it
Yeah.
was pretty cool to see. We had every single booth filled and it was just awesome, honestly. I was on such a high and it was such a long process that just watching it all come together and meeting those people that I'd been networking with for the past year and a half over email was just really cool.
Yeah.
So
Best part of the experience and most challenging part of the experience.
best part of the experience was honestly just the personal development and growth that came out of it. I think
Wow.
that's pretty broad, but working with teams and that core four team is what they call them, the two general managers, fundraising chair, and the treasurer. We were so tight, and it was so incredible to do that with two people I had been in undergrad with. I actually lived with Morgan, who was one of the general managers freshman year of undergrad. And then I lived with Haley, the other general manager, during my third year of undergrad. So I had known all those ladies so well beforehand. And I think that's why this event was so smooth in the planning process. We could just come to each other with anything. And then developing those team dynamics and that just provided so much personal growth. And it was so exciting to see it all come together. So that was
Yeah.
the best part. I think the worst part maybe it was just handling the meetings and emails sometimes got redundant at times. And you learn, sometimes reading is not as common as you might think, so you have to highlight, underline things. It's a skill that's learned. And so it kind of made me get creative with how I would send things, but just learning how to interact with people. So
Well,
that
hey,
was
don't
it was
worry. In
fun.
the professional world, you will never have a meeting or an email that'll get unread,
Ooh,
or a meeting that you
good
think
life
could have
skills.
just been an email. Yeah, no, that's look, that this is just a, yeah. So gosh, that's
Yeah,
hilarious.
it
Well,
was great. Great
I
practice.
shout out to you too. I got to see some of the customer service aspect of working with so many companies and corporations, because they do buy in. They have a lot, especially the pharma companies and other places, have a lot of invested in these things, and so they have a lot of needs and events and all that. And I got to see you firsthand as we were chatting. May have been interrupted by somebody, but that's okay. To handle something that they wanted your attention on, and you handled it just beautifully. So I want to compliment you on your Christ likeness in that moment. And I think there are wonderful learning, like you say, personal growth. I suppose even some of those moments that are a little more challenging like that can be moments of personal growth, right? So
Yeah, thanks, Curtis. I mean, it definitely came down to a point where when we're all on the exhibit floor, it is what it is. The event's happening and stakes are high, people are stressed, they've paid a ton of money to be there. So if something isn't going exactly how they had thought or something's a little off, I know that that's not like a personal reflection of them being mad at me. They're already heightened. Like their expression of whatever was happening isn't personal. And so just helping to kind of, I guess, mitigate that and put the fire out was just part of the gig. And it didn't happen much. And when it did,
no,
it was smooth. So there was a lot of support from a lot of exhibitors and honestly, no complaints on that front. Just not taking anything personally and realizing, like, hey, this is how it goes. And everyone's still standing and nothing was crazy.
I feel like that is something that's going to translate into your professional career going forward. There are just going to be those things. And so, yeah, I don't think there were many instances, if any. We had just a smooth exhibitor experience for CVM. It was wonderful. But yeah, just seeing you well, work with people like, in those moments of, like you say, heightened stress or what have you, it was cool to see. Um,
Thank
you showed that grace. Well, one other cool thing that I want to highlight too with your journey, and something that I follow myself, is You have been blogging your veterinary medicine experience. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's really crazy. I have not ever been a writer or someone super big on social media. I just over summer before I started vet school, I'd always loved tutoring undergrads. I TA'd 17 classes in undergrad and graduated a little early and actually got to come on and teach a class at Cal Poly before I officially walked and went into vet school. And I knew I liked interacting with people. I knew I wanted to kind of mentor people. And so during that summer between undergrad and vet school, I decided to make a website where I could mentor students, help them with vet school applications, and just kind of show them the real and raw side of that process and know that it's not linear. And then within that website, there was a blog option. And I was like, what the heck does this mean? And I started it and I do it every week. And there were people that said, oh, you're probably not going to keep it up. And so then that was a challenge. And I haven't looked back since.
Challenge
So
accepted. Yeah.
yeah, challenge accepted. It's fun just to kind of document it. And mostly it's for myself, just so at the end of my 4 years, I'll have a week by week document of everything that I've done. And then my family subscribes, which is kind of fun. So they can all see. Grandparents read it. So it's fun. I enjoy it.
It's good and it's good for you, but it is real, it is raw, and I think that authenticity, just like you're showing very much in this podcast as well. I think that's what people are drawn to these days. Like you don't need a veneer. We've got enough of like influencer like we've got give me like what real life is like. What is this like? And so yeah, I love you. Well, tell us where we can find it. I know where I can find it because I follow it, but go for it.
Yeah, so thanks, Curtis. It's called Doctor in Training. So Dogtor in training. And it just, yeah, just so you can be real and raw. And I mean, vet school and vet med, I think, is shifting now where people are showing more of what it's like to actually be in the profession and worry about mental health and just take care of yourself, take care of each other. But it's such a competitive environment to get in that everyone's kind of fighting for that one position. Even when you get into vet school, it still feels kind of cutthroat. And I'm just trying to take that down and say, hey, we're all here. We're all going to be doctors at the end of the day. And I'd rather be a person first than a veterinarian with no personality. And
Yeah.
so I just want to keep it real. That's my motto. Keep it real, give all the glory to God, and just say, it's what we're here for. What's my purpose in this world? And honor him with what I'm doing.
Love it. Dog tour and training. People can just basically Google that and they'll be able to find it that way, I'm sure. Um, Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I remember even you even blogged on Real Life Real Impact last year. It was really fun to kind of get a recap and some photos of that. But well, you mentioned. Let me ask you a small question. You mentioned how you got to teach. Is teaching something you're interested in? Is that something you might want to do in the future?
Yeah, so I never really knew that I wanted to go into teaching, and I still don't know if that's going to be like a huge part of my career, but I
Sure.
do love tutoring and I love talking to students. I always do a annual talk to the Cal Poly undergrads and tell them about like how I went through undergrad and different classes, give them recommendations and tell them what it's like to go into vet school, tell them about the application process, tell them about my failures and things like that, just to keep it realistic because I think there's that stigma that, oh, you have to be a perfect straight A student. You have to do a bajillion hours of vet work. And so interacting with those students made me realize that I love teaching people and coaching people. I've also coached swimming. I coached the master's team at Cal Poly. So just interacting, I really love people. And so I think teaching could be a fun aspect of vet med to go
Oh,
into.
very cool. Well, tell me one other thing, a question that we get a lot, and I think our students and our professionals would be curious to kind of we're still kind of trying to come around this what we define as mentorship. So you mentioned you mentor, students back at Cal Poly, back at the undergrad, but you are also yourself a veterinary student, and I'm assuming uh, mentorship is something that might be important to you going forward. What do you mean by that, and what do you think that will look like? Either the way you do it for the undergrads or the way you're hoping to receive it as you become a young doctor.
Yeah. So I've been very fortunate in my undergrad career. I had great mentors. And what I mean by mentors are just people that literally took me under their wing. I knew nothing about horses. I knew nothing about large animal. They would take me out there and be like, this is how you're going to do it. And this is how you're not going to get killed. So someone that would show me grace and also trust in me and encourage me. I know that's not the same And I'm very privileged to have had that experience because people have gotten into vet clinics and they get destroyed by the staff or they get just sent to the back to do kennel work. And I have been so privileged that even when we all got sent home during COVID, I went to a small animal practice down in Valley Center and immediately started working under an incredible vet who had me in surgery maybe 3 weeks after I started. And I was not a kennel technician. I did laundry very well in the beginning. And
Sure,
then
sure.
she started giving me more roles, and she has been an incredible support system throughout these past 5 years. She came to my white coat ceremony
Oh,
and
wow.
has just been so supportive, constantly checks in on me, lets me come in and work whenever I'm home. And I think that's what I really see as a mentor, someone that's going to meet you where you are and knows you more than just an employee or knows you more than just a student or a new vet or a new grad or whatever. It's someone that actually cares about you as a person and finds ways to make you succeed. And I found that in Davis as well. I've been very, very fortunate to find people, connect with them on a real level and even connect with them on a level of faith where we can have deep conversations. And I think that's one of the most cool things about this profession is just going in there, being real and saying, hey, can we help achieve this common goal? And just being humble, because I think when you show or think you know more than you do is when things get dangerous and scary. So just going in there with an attitude of humility and saying, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I am willing to learn and work hard, but I can't do this alone. So that's kind of, I think, what mentorship is for me.
You almost gave like a I don't want to rob your future book from you, but you almost gave a 4-page step there. I mean, you described this doctor, shout out to her, by the way. It sounds like a her. That all right, met you where you are, cares about the journey you're on, gives you opportunities to grow and and just keeps moving you along in that way. You almost got a little bullet point recipe there for good mentorship. That's really pretty cool.
They're just incredible. And there's been so many at Cal Poly that have done that. And I think all of those vets at Cal Poly were people of very strong faith, and I could have really deep conversations with them. And they were professors, they were local veterinarians. I lived with one of them for a year and a half. Like it was super cool to have that at school and then come home and have that in a clinic setting too. So I've seriously just been so blessed with my connections and my mentorship. So
Yeah.
shout out to all of them. They definitely know who they are.
Yeah, somebody that'll, oh, not only cares about your output, but actually cares about your growth. I mean, even willing to share life and even open, a home up or a space in your home to when needed. Just how cool is all of that? Well, um, yeah, I'm pretty. So how do you? I'll be curious to see how you then employ that going forward, right? I mean, the people have done that for you. You get to do that for others, and I mean, on and on that system goes. It's not unlike discipleship, right? I mean, it feels very similar to kind of what Jesus laid out for us to do for others. So
Exactly. It's so cool to connect it and just watch that transform through the career and realize we're all on this journey together and we just need to support each other and be there for each other.
well, I love it, Izzy. Well, listen, I'm going to ask you 3 questions, similar to what we ask all guests, but let me start with this one. How did you know you wanted to be a veterinarian? What was it that just kind of was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to vet school.
Great question. I think I am one of the people that kind of came out of the womb saying I'm going to be a vet and never looked back.
Sure.
And a lot of people do that and then transfer different careers, which is so valid. They're like, I can't handle blood. I don't like surgery. Maybe medicine's not my jam. But I have those little forms from third grade of what do you want to be when you grow up? I drew myself with a little cat and a little, stethoscope thing. So it's always been the goal and just never looked back. I love the medicine and I love the animals and the people. So,
Well, that's a huge thing that you realize is you point out as a vet student, being wise enough to realize like it's so much about people. And what you did at SAVMA, all people, like that is going to serve you so well. I mean, so much about the animals and medicine, all that, but so much about the human attached to that animal. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, what so that kind of also answers, but what are you loving about I usually ask what do you love about veterinary medicine, but let me spin it this way. What do you love about vet school right now?
Honestly, vet school is incredible. I came in, okay, shout out to Cal Poly Slow because they prepared everyone so well. We came in, we're like, undergrad was harder. Um, don't let everyone hear that, but like,
We'll
they
edit. No, I'm just kidding. That's playing
they
live,
prepared us.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah, they prepared us so well that when we got in here, we were also on the quarter system for Cal Poly. And so it was fast paced. We were in multiple classes. And Davis is on the block system, which is kind of one body system at a time. But you learn the pharmacology, the anatomy, the physiology, radiology, kind of everything with that system as you go through. And so it was a really nice transition. And it didn't feel like it was too fast or anything. I mean, the amount of information is a lot, but having that sturdy foundation from undergrad was incredible. And then I just feel really supported at Davis. Everyone is so into making sure that we're okay as humans as well as future veterinarians. We have counselors on site, we have wellness week, we have a lot of opportunities for seeking assistance if we need anything. And then they teach us the communication class and we also have like business classes. So I think they do a really good job of keeping us well-rounded and really promoting us as a whole human and not just as a veterinarian.
No, that's a good word. Well, what's one last thing, faithful thought or something, one last thought that you'd love to leave with our listeners today?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, and I think that my word of advice or something I've learned is say yes within reason. Because when you get into a situation, it's like, don't be scared of being uncomfortable because that's where the growth happens. And so if I hadn't said yes to taking on different opportunities like SAVMA or like different club opportunities or just stepping out of that comfort zone, I wouldn't have met as many amazing mentors and I wouldn't have met or had the opportunity to go to different camps and develop leadership skills. So it's not saying say yes to everything because we also have to protect our time and be a guardian of our resources. But if something is exciting, that kind of stirs up something in your soul and says, maybe this is a God opportunity, or maybe this is like a sign that I need to try that. And you never know what's going to come out of it. So yeah, say yes within reason is my last little parting advice.
Love it. And we've got your book on mentorship kind of sketched out, and now say yes within reason. I think that's a
There we go.
title number two of you. Just get to that, in amongst vets. I mean, SAVMA's over with. You've got free time coming out your ears now.
So
So,
much free time.
well,
I
Izzy, thanks
know.
so much for joining the podcast today. Just look forward to doing more life with you and seeing you next time we're Davis for the CVF group. But just so grateful for you, and thanks for sharing with us just how to just another aspect of living life well at the intersection of faith and veterinary medicine. Two roads crossing.
Thank you for listening to Two Roads Crossing, a podcast production of the Christian Veterinary Mission. If you were blessed by this content, like and subscribe so that you are alerted when new content is released. If you would like more information about CVM, or if you have questions, comments, or topical suggestions, you can find us online at www.cvm.org. Or you can contact us by emailing podcast@cvm.org. God has a plan for the nations, and that plan includes you. We pray that CVM has encouraged you to live out your calling with confidence and competence. So, until next time, may the voice of the shepherd ring loud and clear as you follow him in faith to the intersection of two roads crossing.